Thank you for joining us today, and this is part 5 of our new teaching that we're doing on the coming of the Mashyach, of the Messiah, and the rapture, or the catching up of believers. And I'm going to read today starting in 1 Corinthians chapter 15, and we're going to talk about how this ties into the resurrection of the body, coming of Yahusha, the catching up of believers, and the dead that have gone before us being raised or being resurrected to be caught up with Yahusha in the air. And then we which are alive and remain shall be caught up, and we will experience our resurrection. There's going to be some people who will not have to experience physical death. We're going to get to this and read this in 1 Corinthians 15. And he talked about that aspect, that those that are alive and remain. We talked about this in 1st and 2nd Thessalonians, that we would be caught up together with Yahusha in the air, and so shall we ever be with him. And he said, comfort one another with these words. And that's what I'm doing today, is comforting you with the fact that we have that blessed hope, the catching up of believers to experience our resurrection. The resurrection of these bodies that are mortal, have to put on immortality. This corruptible, talking about our flesh, must put on incorruption. And so shall be brought to pass the saying, death is swallowed up in victory. O death, where is your victory? O sin, where is your victory? Death, where is yours? This is what the resurrection is all about, the redemption of our bodies. Now, in verse 20 of chapter 15, I'm going to read here, it says, but now is Mashyach risen from the dead, or Messiah raised from the dead, and have become the first fruits. That's why the first fruits is one of the festivals that we celebrate, or the feast of Yahuwah that we celebrate. And it says that Mashyach has become the first fruits of them that sleep, or those that have died. Verse 21 says, for since by man, or by Adam, came death, by Adam came also the resurrection of the dead. Now the second Adam is talking about Mashyach here. The first Adam, or the first Adam, came death because of his fall, because of his rebellion. He took on death, and that's how death entered into the world. That's why these physical bodies of ours have to die. But in the same manner, the second man, or the second Adam, which is talking about Mashyach, has given us the resurrection of the dead. Because in verse 22 says, for as in Adam all die, even so in Adam shall all be made alive. Every man in his own order, Mashyach, or Messiah, the first fruits, after they that are at Mashyach, at his coming. In other words, at his coming, and this is talking about when he appears in the sky, that he appears in the sky to catch us up together with him. That's what it's making reference to. That at that moment, as Mashyach was raised from the dead, just like he is the first fruits of them that sleep, he took on immortality in his body. In the same manner, we which are alive and remain shall be caught up, and will experience our resurrection. Then it says, then comes the end, when he shall have delivered up the kingdom of Yahuwah to the Father, when he shall have put down all rule and all authority and power. For he must reign until he has put all enemies under his feet. And the last enemy that shall be destroyed is death. That's what it's talking about. The physical death is that the last enemy that's going to be destroyed is physical death. Enemy was never Yahuwah's intention for man to have to go through. But because of his rebellion, that's what's happened. But that's what the message of reconciliation is all about. As in at Adam, all men die, but in Adam, the second Adam, which is Mashyach, is referred to as the second Adam, we shall also be made alive. Now, if you read down in verse 45, well, let me read starting at verse 35. It says, Paul says, but some men will say, or how are the dead raised up? In other words, how is this going to happen? And with what body do they come forth with? Paul says, you fool, you don't know what you're talking. He said, don't you know that what is sowed is made alive, except first it dies? And that which is soweth, thou sowest not that the body shall die, but bear grain. It may have chance of wheat or of some other grain. But Yahuwah gives it a body as it has pleased him, to every seed his own body. All flesh is not the same flesh. There's one kind of flesh of men, another flesh of beasts, another of fish, and another of birds. We all know that. We all can understand what he's saying here. There are also celestial bodies and bodies terrestrial. But the glory of the celestial is one, and the glory of the terrestrial is one. There's one glory of the sun and another glory of the moon. You know, we can look at the moon, and there's certain beauty about the moon that we experience. There's certain glory or esteem about the sun that we notice. He says, so also is the resurrection of the dead. It is sown in corruption, and it is raised in corruption. It is sown in dishonor, it is raised in glory. It is sown in weakness, it's raised in power. It is sown a natural body, and is raised a spiritual body. There is a natural body, and there is a spiritual body. And so, as it is written, the first Adam was made a living soul. The last Adam, he's referred to as the last Adam, was made a life-giving spirit. Howbeit that which was not first, which is spiritual, but that which is natural. In other words, the first was Adam, and we had this natural physical body. But after that, which is spiritual, talking about what Mashyach, or the second Adam, has given us, a spiritual body. The first man is of the earth, earthly. The second man is Yahuwah, or Yahusha, from heaven. As is the earth earthy, this is sort of funny how this is worded, such are they also that are earthy. In other words, we resemble that which is of the earth. But in that same manner, so is the heavenly also as the heavenly. In other words, we are going, as Yahusha, as we're going to bear witness or bear resemblance to his spiritual body. That's what it's making reference to. Verse 49 says, and as we have borne the image of the earthly, we shall also bear the image of the heavenly. That's what it's saying. And then verse 50, it says, now this I say, brethren, that flesh and blood cannot enter the kingdom of Yahuwah, neither does corruption inherit incorruption. Now this is where I really want to get to right here. Verse 51, behold, I show you a mystery. A mystery is something that hasn't been revealed yet. We shall all sleep. We shall not all sleep, but we shall all be changed. In a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last trumpet or the last shofar, and for the trumpet or the shofar shall sound, and the dead shall be raised incorruptible, and we shall be changed. For this corruptible must put on incorruption, and this mortal must put on immortality. So when this corruptible shall have put on incorruption, and this mortal shall have put on immortality, then shall be brought to pass the saying that is written, death is swallowed up in victory. What a day. Hallelujah. I'm looking forward to that. Now this is, the reason I'm bringing this out is because this has exactly to do with what Paul was writing in 1st and 2nd Thessalonians about we will be called up together with those that have died before us, and then we shall all be changed, as he's talking about here, in a moment of a twinkling of an eye. We shall experience our resurrection, and so shall we ever be with Yahuwah. And this is going to take place before the actual tribulation begins, and we're going to talk more about that in our coming teachings. And I hope this has been help to you. I'm gonna in our next session, I'm gonna go back through some of these verses because I just did a lot of reading, and I want to make a lot more comments on some of these verses here. sort of explain them a little bit better, make sure you're getting hold of this. And so I want to thank you for your time today, and we'll be back on our next session, which will be part number 6 of our teaching on the coming of the Mashyach and the catching up of the believers, which is referred to a lot of people as the rapture. And we'll continue on our study on this. Thanks for your time. Blessings to you in Yahuwah's name. Shalom.